Good evening from Fort Worth, Texas. It's slow here in the heat. We're down Main Street.
Hi, welcome to Heim Time. I'm your host, Travis Heim,
I'm Emma Heim.
and we are very excited today because we have a special guest, a good friend of ours, someone who every time I've had a conversation with him, I've left feeling inspired, and I mean that truly.
True.
Our friend, Jonathan Morris.
Yay. Welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
I'm excited about this.
Our first question is always, how are you? Because with everything going on,
You have a lot going on.
you have a lot going on.
What do you have going on?
I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay. You know, this has been obviously a very tumultuous summer.
Yeah.
Right.
Just, oh my goodness, like emotionally exhausting,
Mhm.
but also good things have been happening. And quite frankly, I feel very optimistic about
Good.
the future. Myself, like just business wise and
Mhm.
things that I've got going on, I'm really optimistic, but I feel optimistic about just kind of the direction that we are headed.
Yeah.
As a society, as a city, I feel hopeful.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. Keep it
Hopeful.
going. We need it.
I
Drive it.
I have to remain optimistic,
You
otherwise
have
I
to.
will crumble.
Well, I mean, seriously, though, in today's time, it's not hard to let that get to you. You know,
Yeah.
like the hard stuff is weighing down and
Yeah. I kept saying like it can't, at this in March or whatever. Well, it can't get any worse, and that's like
6 months later.
Stop saying that. So yeah, well, awesome. What are you doing here? You're way too big to be on this.
That's
I really appreciate it.
that's not true. Right? That's not true. I'm excited to be here. A couple reasons. Number one, you texted me like, "Yo, doing a podcast. You want to be on it?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's talk." Because
Yeah.
I feel like, as small business owners, and particularly in Fort Worth right now, there's just, I don't know, like it's almost like there is a linked kinship.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
something that I think we all understand, especially because, in a lot of ways we're serving very similar,
Yeah.
the same community.
Yeah,
As big as this community is, and it's becoming increasingly
Yeah,
bigger.
it is.
But yeah, I mean, I know you like I love watching y'all and how you move and how you
Thank you.
keep jumping and just
Right.
going and expanding and looking for new opportunities to continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
One
It's
day at a time.
inspiring
Same to
me.
you,
know?
too.
Yeah. It doesn't feel that way sometimes. You're just
I
like,
know.
what the hell is going on? But it's like, yeah, I think we try to approach that, and two, that's kind of, getting into further questions we had or whatever. But like with us, it was always like approach a new opportunity, and you really look at it organically of like,
Mhm.
one, is this something that we can do right now with everything else going on?
Right.
But there's so many times where you just got to jump in. And I think that's, kind of the same thing with you. So, did you grow up in Fort Worth or?
No, I did
Yeah.
not grow up in Fort Worth. Well, yes and no.
Yeah.
Right. So I grew up coming to Fort Worth. So
Yeah.
my parents, my grandparents are all from Fort Worth.
Awesome. Yeah.
My parents moved from Fort Worth to San Antonio, where I was born in 1984. I was born in 1984.
We won't do the math. Yeah.
and so growing up, we would always come to Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So family was here. But then in 2012, my wife and we got married, and
Yeah.
I moved to Fort Worth. And since then, it's been home.
Yeah.
And,
For sure.
So I've always been pretty familiar with Fort Worth,
Right,
and
yeah.
had a sense of what's going on in the city. And since, last 8 years now, have, fallen in love with
Yeah.
what the city is. And, quite frankly, I think that what I'm even more in love with is what I think Fort Worth is becoming.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is your wife's name's Catherine?
Catherine, yeah.
Is she from San Antonio too?
No. So I grew up. Like,
I love these stories.
So I was born in San Antonio. And we moved to Austin, to Pflugerville, and so I went to like elementary, middle school there, and then moved up to Corinth, up near Denton. So I went to high school in Denton. We went to high school together.
Oh, nice.
In Denton.
High school sweetheart.
Yeah.
Love that.
She went to TCU.
Okay.
And then she stayed in Fort Worth. I went to school in Atlanta, and when I moved back to the Metroplex, moved to Dallas, and then when we got married, I said, "Why not Fort Worth?"
Yeah.
And this is home.
And that was 2012, and I just feel like even since 2012, Fort Worth is night and day different.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
For sure.
Night and day.
100%. And I was going to say too, like for us, we mentioned this on the last podcast, but like Fort Worth, how they support people like us that are like, you know, we've got the drive, we really want to do something. And the amount of support is insane, I think, here. Like when we were in the food truck, it was almost like, is this real life? Because people kept coming and coming and the lines are so long. And I feel like you're probably, I mean, you're in the same boat with how much love that you get in this city. Like
I think that what's special about Fort Worth is that a couple things. Whenever you present something fresh to the city, and maybe it's something that has always been here, but it's just thought of in a new way.
Yeah.
I think the city responds to it because people are hungry for that.
It's like a sponge.
Watching you guys, I remember when you guys were in the trailer. I think that what happened, I mean, obviously you guys weren't the first people to start making barbecue.
Right.
Yeah.
But your take on the barbecue game in Fort Worth was fresh and new, so much so that people said, okay, there's something, number one, product.
Yeah.
It's pretty good, right? Yeah. But then, like, I think you guys are also like very likable people, right? And so
even you, Trav.
Mostly.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest.
But people are hungry for something to say, you know, these are people in and of my city, and we want to support these dreams.
Right.
And I think that's what especially, since kind of that era. When did you guys open the first restaurant?
The first restaurant was 2016. Food truck,
August,
2015.
So that era, like that, these last 5, 6 years, I feel like, man, like the city is just responding to brands that are saying brands and, product services, people that are just thinking about new things to introduce to Fort Worth in a fresh way.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's a good place to be if you're going to start something, that's for sure.
You know what I think that is? Like, I think that like we have this sense of like, I mean, everybody says like Fort Worth, it's a, big city, small town feel. It's like super cliche, but I think it's so real because it's unique in that we, have that, you go everywhere and you see people, and it feels very like connected.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're the 13th largest city in the nation.
Right. Yeah.
So we're like deceivingly populated. And so there's a lot of volume of people, but at the same time, we've been able to maintain this sense of like familiarity and like
pretty close knit.
Yeah. And I think that there's something to be said. I mean, I think that if you looked at, so if we're the 13th largest city in the nation, and there's 12 cities bigger than Fort Worth, I think you'd be hard pressed to find cities that have that same connectivity within them, that same community aspect that for whatever reason, it's like we're a lapdog. Like we don't know how big we are.
Oh, that's such a good way to say it.
That's what I think Fort Worth.
That's
like,
true.
We don't realize we're like an actual metropolis.
Yeah, and it really doesn't feel that way.
And I grew up here, born and raised, and my mother was from here and everything. And, to their stories of like, where Hewlin Mall, like where their house was off of Bel Air over by TCU, everything south of that was just fields. Literally. And that was when she was in high school, I think. And so just, talking to people like that who've been here for a while, it's crazy. But I think two, I wonder how much of Fort Worth especially has always been, and like we would, this really like showed itself when we went to college, and we went to college in Tyler, East Texas. So it's not far, but people be like, where are you from? You know, oh, he's from Dallas. I'm like, I'm not from Dallas, right?
Like, you got me all wrong.
Yeah, let's get this clear. And we love Dallas.
Totally
we hope
different.
they love barbecue. But it's Fort Worth's always had that mentality of, I don't know if it's like little brother or whatever, but you know, our industry and everything was, you know, the same, but maybe more, you know, Cowtown and that type of, and even Panther City. You know, Panther City is like, the story of that is that some Dallas writer said Fort Worth is so boring that there's a panther laying down in the next to the city hall or whatever. It's like it was supposed to be a knock on Fort Worth, you know, sucks or whatever.
We ran with that.
We were like, we like
Yeah,
I like
that's great.
I like this. Go
Oh
us.
man, did you see that video of the Carolina? This is completely off topic, but not really. The Carolina
What's the
Panther receiver. There's like this guy that just started. We'll have to look up the video, but he's like, who the hell is that? What's that bear doing? And it was the Panther mascot. And the other guy on the team goes, that's Sir Purr, man. What are you talking about? And he's like, Sir Purr. He's like, why do you call him that? He's like, that's his name. It's like the Panther mascot. It's so stupid. Sorry I brought it up, but
It's fine. We there's no timeline here.
yeah. So we got a lot going on, but I really appreciate you coming. So you know, there's a lot that I want to talk about, but I guess with you are the quintessential entrepreneur in my mind. Every time I talk to you, you're like ideas, this or that or whatever, and it's awesome. And I'm similar to that, you know, especially with all the stuff we got going on. We're trying to think of new stuff, but one, and I just did the mouth thing again. One, I don't know how you do it, first of all. So like, how do you find time or what do you kind of do to help foster that creativity where you're thinking about new ideas, new, you know, stuff?
Good question.
Thank you.
I need to stop. Like I feel like I keep adding to my plate, and right now, like I need to like chill out a little bit because I just don't have the bandwidth right now. But I don't know, man. Like I'm particularly inspired traveling.
Yeah.
And anytime I go somewhere and I see something or I experience a place, I feel like I get like envious. I'm like, man, like,
right.
we need that in Fort Worth. Like,
Right.
why can't we have that too?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, I think that so much of, you know, my inspiration or whatever, it just comes from thinking about Fort Worth and the place that I live and creating the spaces that I want to inhabit and accentuating the people and the spaces that I think make this place special.
Yeah.
And I want to make it a place where I want to be for a long time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I want other people to discover the city in a fresh way. And I think, you know, for me, entrepreneurship is my medium or art form to do that. And right now, you know, I'm focused on the barbershop and I'm focused on this hotel project.
Yeah.
And for me, I think of them as, you know, community spaces that allow us to tell stories.
Yeah.
You know, tell stories of place and of people.
Yeah.
And I think that that's what I want to do for the rest of my life. Like, I think
Awesome.
that, like,
I'm over here like, oh gosh, stop crying.
I think
Getting inspired.
I read on and Jonathan's the owner, founder of Fort Worth Barbershop, which is off Montgomery, or
right
where's the address?
Right off Montgomery and Vickery. Technically it's Lovell, but off Vickery, right there, right at the corner. 2 black garage doors.
Yeah.
The weather's nice. We put the garage doors up.
Yeah. And it's awesome. But yeah, it's so funny, you know, how you say that. So it's like, I never left Fort Worth until I was like 18, you know what I mean? But like now, especially recently, travel's such a huge part of our life. Like, or we wish it
Was.
was. It's like
Right.
now it's like dead. So
Remember
like,
traveling?
Yeah, I know.
I
It's
know.
Going places.
I know.
so fun.
That's such a
Um,
fun experience that we don't get to have.
I know. And two, it's interesting you say that, and something that I've thought of for a while is like, especially in the culinary scene, Fort Worth is kind of like 5 years behind the trend. And I'm not saying that to be a negative, but it's like you see like other stuff in, let's say, New York or LA or whatever. And so it's kind of, you can do that. But, you know, for us, you know, craft barbecue, I think started with Aaron Franklin. You know, like barbecue's been around for whatever, but really guys in Austin were kind of doing the new, you know, style. And it's the same thing with that. And so, you know, what role do you think timing plays into that? Because obviously
A lot.
you guys weren't the first barbershop, but
A
the
lot.
way that you curated it. Yeah.
A lot, man.
Yeah.
Like I think that sometimes, you know, the season is just right, and timing is everything just
Yeah.
aligns.
Mhm.
I think that, you know, it doesn't hurt to be in a city that is growing
Yeah.
and people are actively moving to on a
Right.
regular basis.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And I think that, you know, maybe, you know, part of what plays into that also is just kind of the historical mindset.
Yeah.
I'm speaking of Fort Worth
Right.
specifically, right? I think that Fort Worth folks for a very long time have always felt like, oh, okay, you know, if I want to have craft barbecue, then I've got to go to Austin because
Right.
that's where craft barbecue
yeah.
exists.
Or
Mhm.
Dallas or yeah.
Or if I want to go
yeah.
shopping, I got to go to Dallas
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's where it exists. If I want this, I want that. And I think that we've like played the back seat for a really long time.
Yeah.
And I think that what's happening is in where you're seeing what success looks like in Fort Worth is people that like yourself that are saying, okay, we're in and of Fort Worth. Let's create
Yeah. Yeah.
the thing that we care about, and let's do it our way
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
present it to Fort Worth, Texas. And I think that you know, when we opened up the barbershop back in 2014, coming up on 6 years now.
Wow.
In 2014, it just, you know, I looked around and I'm like, man,
Yeah.
like why is there not a barbershop
Yeah.
the way I see them on the East Coast or on the West
Right,
Coast
right.
or even in the UK or
Yeah.
Paris or Italy. I'm like, there's some really cool vibes
Mhm.
in the barbershop world. Why does that not exist in 2014 at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah.
And I look, you know, around the country, around the world, whatever. I'm just like, we have people. So going back to like there's population,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like at that point, I think that we were like around like 800 something thousand people, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I cannot be the only person
Right.
that feels this way.
Yeah.
All right, let's present this. You know, let's present a barbershop.
Yeah.
Let's just present it in a different way than anything else.
Yeah.
And I think that people will respond to that.
Yeah.
And, you know, that was kind of my hypothesis with the barbershop.
Yeah.
And the community
Mm-hmm.
supported, or like the community
Yeah.
responded. And I think that like Fort Worth, like people want to get behind things
Yeah.
that feel
Yeah.
like, yo, like
So
this is us doing us,
Mhm.
you know, whatever that thing is. And I think
Yeah.
that leaning into the community and really saying like, hey, like we're gonna, you know, create this space or this thing, and we're gonna do it in our Fort Worth way. And I think that also like it's okay for things to be inspired,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so going back to like travel, like
Yeah.
when I would travel to a place, I'm like, man, like what is the Fort Worth version of
Yeah.
this barbershop?
Yeah.
What is the Fort Worth version of this, you know, hotel or whatever?
Right.
Like, what is like? How do we remain authentically Fort Worth
Yeah.
and determine what that is,
Yeah.
and just bring new stuff to the city and like that?
Yeah.
That's
Somebody's got to drive that too.
Oh.
Because, like you said,
Yeah.
there's still Fort Worth spin on everything you do and everything we do. But, like, who determines that? And it's
Right.
like, well, it's kind of us.
Yeah.
You know, like
Yeah.
it's you,
Yeah.
it's us. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to be able to do that.
And then that experience, like the thing that you're creating, is through your lens, right?
Yeah.
And you know, Fort Worth
Oh.
obviously has a lot of pockets and a lot of bubbles and a lot of.
Yeah.
But guess what? Like as entrepreneurs, what we get to do is say, okay, here's my take on
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is art. It's totally art, and how people perceive it and everything. It's cool.
Yeah.
Man, I'm getting inspired. Oh, like, let's
told
open
you.
another one, babe.
Oh, God.
Oh, God. So off of that too, now you're working on a hotel,
Yeah.
which is like so cool. We're gonna do a weekend stay for sure. Why not?
Of course.
So when do you have an ETA on that, or that's a loaded question right there? I love that question. People are like, "Oh, when's your new
When is it
restaurant?"
open?
Yeah, it's like I have no idea.
You know, like I'm gonna tell you, like whenever we like first like publicly announced that we're doing like, when is it open? I want to book a room. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Dude,
can I find a contractor first?
you're right.
Need
Yeah,
blueprints. Yeah.
like we have land.
Yeah, so you're right. So we are expecting to open early 2021. So we're still shooting for it. And so you know, it's just wild because I mean, we literally started construction like as the global pandemic was
Of course.
Right.
just
Yeah.
getting started.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah.
Of course, of course.
And so, you know, we don't know exactly what travel is going to look like.
Mhm.
Yeah.
One thing that, you know, just kind of watching the industry as it's starting to recover, one thing that we are seeing is that there's a lot more drive-in traffic. People are doing staycations
Yes.
a lot more as opposed to, you know, flying traffic. And then obviously
More like regional tourism
More
type
regional.
thing. Yeah.
and you know, business travel is not non-existent, but it's not what it was, and quite frankly, I don't know that it will be. Like because I think like one of the things I've been thinking a lot about is like the idea of like office and the idea of traveling for work.
Yeah.
I think that's changing.
Yeah.
forever, yo.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
people like
Yeah,
if
we
I-
think the same.
I've got a call on Friday or on Monday with someone in Serbia.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like we're just gonna hop on a Zoom call and that's gonna be
Just
that.
chat. Yeah. Whatever.
Like the idea that I would ever like
yeah.
have to fly. I mean, obviously there is value in like relationship,
Yeah.
like being face to face with.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're doing this face to face,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but I think that things are gonna change. Y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We did
agree.
even yesterday. We had a meeting with our business partner on Zoom or whatever, and it's like we would never do that before. And like we're all in Fort Worth right
Yeah.
now, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
But it was like, let's get on. It was a 10-minute, thing that we're working on something, and but I guess my point is we would never have thought of doing that.
Right.
We're like, oh, we got to set a date, we got to go, all meet
Yeah.
here, waste an hour of our day, like the whole thing, and it's just like you can do it so quick. And we were talking too earlier about like even shopping and like grocery stores and stuff. I mean, what do you think, this COVID and all this stuff going on is really affected almost every industry? What does that look like for
Retail.
you, retail, barbershop, everything? I mean,
Yeah. Well, I think like particularly like with retail, like with a retail, like if you are not providing an experience,
yeah.
that's just a tough
Mhm.
go.
Mhm.
It's such a tough go. Now more so than, not that it wasn't a hard before,
Right.
Yeah,
but
totally.
maybe more so than ever. In the barbershop world, so we were closed for 2
Right.
months.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the nature of barbershop, you're in very
Yeah.
close proximity to
Right.
someone who is standing over your face.
Mhm.
And so, since reopening in middle of May, so middle of March to middle of May, we're closed, and
Crazy.
sucks because
Yeah.
I've got to tell a team of folks like,
Yeah.
we don't have a job right now and
Yeah.
I don't know when we're going to.
Mhm.
So
Crazy.
we've all experienced that in some way.
Yeah.
But since opening up, it's just like new procedures, new process. How do we ensure the public and our team of people, our
Yeah.
staff, like, hey,
Yeah.
we're going to create this environment that if you're ready to come back to the barbershop, we're being
Yeah.
thoughtful about the way
Right.
that
Yes.
the way that your reentry into,
Mhm.
being in close proximity to people
Yeah.
and tools and
There's a new normal for
yeah.
sure.
And I think that, quite frankly, I think that across a lot of industries, obviously with entrepreneurship in particular, everybody's had to get creative.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, I'm sure you guys like business model is
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
changing in a lot of ways.
$2 Tuesday. Do what you can.
But you know what? Silver lining, I think that we're going to be better for having to get creative and
Mhm.
having to
Yeah.
pivot. It's almost like shit, like if you can survive a pandemic,
Yeah.
like
Seriously,
maybe we
yeah.
could do anything,
I know.
Yeah.
But I also think that like just the sheer nature of what entrepreneurship is, it is creativity. And
Yeah.
it is
Mhm.
thinking for
Yeah.
solving for the unknown a lot of
Yeah.
times. And so obviously so much of this, sucks, but I hope that we get stronger.
Yeah.
I think so.
For sure.
What advice do you have for someone that's trying to be the next Jonathan Morris?
Oh,
Boom.
don't try to be me. Try to be you.
Try to be you. That's
Try
the
to be
first
you.
one.
Yeah.
Start there.
Yeah.
I'm taking. No. But in terms of like wanting to go into business,
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
go. Like I think that what so many people do is they wait for the perfect time till they have enough money, till they have everything in order, till they know exactly they have the answer. They're waiting to have the answers for everything. And I mean, I don't know about you guys, but like I learned on the go.
Yeah.
a lot.
Same.
For sure.
And so much
Yeah.
of
Same.
Yeah.
success as entrepreneurs, I think it's just being willing to go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And sometimes, I mean, that might very well mean like, hey, okay, like the scale at which you want to be, you have to start smaller.
Yeah.
Or what the end goal looks like may not be what day one looks like, but
Mhm.
just go
Mhm.
Yeah.
and learn how to swim when you get in the water.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
I agree.
if once you're in the deep end, you're gonna have to figure it out
Yeah.
one way or the
Yeah.
other.
For sure.
And I think that training those muscles to
Mhm.
figure shit out
Yeah,
as you
yeah.
go
Yeah.
is a part
It's
of what
big.
entrepreneurship is.
and I
And then
don't.
throw a pandemic in there. You do some real pivoting.
Sprinkle that little pandemic.
There you go. Then you get real good at it.
I don't know. To your point, I don't know if there's any way to fully mitigate risk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think that's the part where
That's
I
the
see,
Best part, though.
because
like it.
I'm not near as friendly as you are, but I get the same of like, I want to open a barbecue place or I want
Yeah.
to do this. And so, I'll reach out to people and email and then, shoot me an email or whatever, type of thing. And then they're like, so how do you do it? And I'm
Yeah.
like, nah, man, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
Like you got to be past step one at
Yeah.
least to figure out. But I think a lot of times people go like, oh, that's cool. I want to do that. But then there's so much that's involved. And like for us, it's exactly like you said, like we opened the food truck, $100 in our bank account when we opened the doors. And so you're like, if this doesn't work, this is not good. Right. But
I'm not
figure
going
it
to
out.
not let it work. Is the other.
the
drive,
hard work for sure.
But you know what? Like, I
Um,
think that as much as I think that entrepreneurship should be like demystified
Mhm.
for a lot of people,
Mhm.
at the same time, like some people need to understand that they're not entrepreneurs,
Yeah.
and like it's also okay. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
like if you don't want the anxiety of personnel issues and
Let's go into that. No, I'm
and-
just kidding.
yeah,
Stuff
and, like,
you honestly never even thought of.
like
Yeah.
Yeah.
the financial, like if you don't want the sleepless night sometimes,
Mhm.
you don't want the
Yeah, I didn't
the
sleep last night. That's why I'm.
if you don't want the trouble of having to
Yeah.
be the last person
Mhm.
to have the answer
Mhm.
when everybody's looking at you like what we gonna do?
Yeah.
If you don't want to be that person,
Yeah.
and you don't want to hire for that person,
Yeah.
then it may not be for you, and that's
Yeah.
okay. And sometimes I think it might take even starting a business to figure that out, But
Yeah.
I always encourage people to, if you have a dream, if you have an idea, if there's something that you want to do, if you envision a better way of
Mhm.
building a mousetrap or whatever that is, I think that like you should like for me, I almost feel like, I don't know how much longer I have on this earth. And so I got these ideas and like I'm trying to get them out of my head and
Yeah.
into the world, and we'll see what happens. And I think that, part of being that risk taker, being an entrepreneur is like learning to like be okay with the idea of failure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
like in my 6 years of, I guess, professional full-time entrepreneurship, I ain't done everything right. I made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah. Same.
And I think that the fear of them could have very well kept me from just starting. And I think it can be paralyzing for a lot of people. And but it every day, I think another thing is like, I feel like entrepreneurship is so glorified that people miss that sometimes you can have some real shitty days, right?
Yeah.
100%.
I think that people don't realize that, when you're building a team, you're the last person to get paid.
Right. For
People
sure.
don't realize that, like, hey, like there's going to be significant sacrifice from what your everyday world may be like. And that's not for everybody. And that's also okay. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's nobody to complain to or like.
Yeah.
I mean, you have good friends, and I'm sure Catherine is like your rock, is same as for us, but like bouncing ideas off certain people, and like there's just not. It's not like that. Like you're. I don't know how to say it. Like you're on your own, but you're not, because you have that community. But like if you're up here trying to make these ideas,
decisions, everything,
and like people are looking to you for like the answers or a paycheck,
and then sometimes you're like, I don't know the answer, but here's what we gonna do.
Yeah,
exactly.
and it works, hopefully.
Yeah. And now we're almost, or I guess we are over 100 employees.
Wow.
And then Dallas
Dallas is gaining,
even more. So the same thing with you.
It's
I mean,
pressure.
there was weeks of. So everyone loses a job, I mean, we had no idea what the future held and everything. And it's crazy. And there's a lot to that. And, I talk to a lot of people that are the same thing. I want to open a barbecue place. It's like, do you want to work 100 hours a week for, what, $1 an hour for the first year, 2 years, and then just hope that something pops and it works. It's, the line that we always say, and I'm interested your perspective, because you're not a barber, right, by trade. But for us, it's we always talk about passion, and we hire for passion. And what are you passionate about? People could be passionate about anything. For us, I would have never opened a taco place or done something else, just because it's not what I cared about. But for you, that passion is different, right? It's not necessarily on that, but more in. And two, I wanted to bring up, looking at the Forward Barbershop website. There's a whole mantra, if you will, right, of very, intentionality. This is a space for community, right? We're as inclusive as possible, everything. I don't know if there's any other barbershop that has that. So I guess, I'm not really asking a question, but, what are you passionate about, and how does that sort of play into what you do? Sure.
So, like, I started the barbershop because I wanted a place that I wanted to go to get a haircut. Because,
better than Supercuts or
exactly. But
Fantastic Sam's. Oh my God! Should we get married?
Do you guys have Fantastic Sam's stories?
No, we just love the
I used
name.
to go to Fantastic Sam's back in the day.
Not to interrupt, Fantastic Sam's, and the one that always gets me is Dress Barn. They sell women's clothes out of Dress Barn. Is there a worse name for a store? Jesus.
Well,
so sorry. Go ahead.
We remember the names Dress Barn and Fantastic Sam's.
That's true. It worked. I guess.
Yeah, it worked. It's embedded.
The other day, we were driving down Hewley. You probably maybe have seen this. Not Hewlin, Camboy, and I was driving by. There's a store. It's called Not Just Soccer, and I was like,
what's in there?
Not just soccer.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah.
I was like, okay,
check this out.
Okay.
Whatever.
But no, man, like I'm passionate about a couple things. Number one, like taking something that literally I know that it exists in between here.
Yeah.
And like what I'm driven by is like the steps and the journey into making it a place where now it goes from in between my ears to this place that other people are experiencing. And like, I get off on like this idea of just like this, I'll walk into the barbershop, like, this guy is, you know, sitting there getting his beard trimmed and getting a shave. He has no clue that, like, I just one day was obsessed with the idea of creating a space that he would come to and enjoy and tell his friends and family about. And to me, like, that's what I love, like, creating, like, just creating something that, creating experiences that, like, it just improve people's lives, you know? And so I think that, what was your question? What was the question again?
I don't know.
Passion.
What are you passionate about?
So like, for me, like, the barbershop was a place. So barbershop was a place that I really enjoyed going to, but I wanted to enjoy doing it more, and I wanted to be able to enjoy doing it in the city that I live in. And then from there, like, I really enjoyed building teams, and I really enjoy just those environmental elements that I believe can shape community. And I want the barbershop to be, I think anything that I ever do from this point forward, to be a place that represents diversity, that represents inclusivity, that represents a place where people can feel safe and know that we value them, and you're going to be treated with respect and dignity. And if you know, I was talking to someone a couple weeks ago, and they were telling me how their spouse was transgender and was growing a beard, and just was really had been apprehensive about the barbershop experience, right?
I didn't think about that.
And she was telling me that they felt very comfortable when they came to the barbershop and felt comfortable. And I was like, shit, man, like, that's what I want to do. Like, I want to create this space where it's like, you know what? Like,
all are welcome.
If you have, because I've been in this spaces where I didn't feel welcome, right? And I know what that feels like. So I think there's so much of kind of, I guess, my vision for, like, in this case, like, a barbershop could be, is just like empathy, right? It's just like leading with this idea of like, okay, you know, what makes me feel good in a space? What makes me feel honored as a person? How do I, you know, when and where do I feel most seen? And because, like, I can remember going to barbershops where I'd walk in and, like, I'd been going there for years, and, like, I don't know if these guys know my name. I don't know if these guys actually know me. Like, we're just bantering. Like, that's cool. But, and I was like, you know what? If I'm going to create a barbershop, when you walk into my shop, people are going to call you by name. People are going to recognize and honor you as a person that's coming in, because I think that makes a difference, right? And I think that there's so many things, particularly just like in the service space, right, that are just effort. It's literally nothing more than effort, and those small things go a long way in terms of creating advocates and just ingraining this space that makes people want to tell people about, and people link their identity to places. You know, and they said, this is my barber.
This is where I go.
You know, this is my coffee shop.
It's
This
like
is my
100% true.
And
saying someone's name is like the easiest thing. And we always say that too.
Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, I read this book probably 15 years ago, and it made such an impression on me. He said, the sweetest word to any man's ears is the sound of his own name.
Wow.
And so that stuck with me, and I was like, you know what? Yeah, it's nice when somebody addresses you by name.
It's true.
Especially when they don't have to commit your name to memory, or they don't have to remember who you are. There's something really, really special about giving a little bit of effort, and I think I know it goes a long way for me.
Me
so
too.
Yeah,
I just imagine
sure.
the other people feel the same way too.
It's weird too when like you say my name. I know that sounds so weird because we always call each other babe or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. And then when I hear Emma, I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, it's my name.
Who
Like,
are you?
I know that's like off topic or whatever, but I'm like, huh, it's so interesting. I have a name.
Yeah. I think one thing popped in my head. You're talking about effort, and especially with business. A lot of times too, it's a very sort of sterile transaction, and like effort is motivated. What's the motivation behind it? I'm thinking is it's money a lot of times, and especially with corporations. Getting out of the small business thing, and two. So that's so. It's so interesting the way you put it, but effort is, we think of it the same way, obviously, but you're also, you have to be genuine.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like you could take pictures of everybody that comes in, remember their damn name. Well, that's not going to mean the same, right? As whatever. And
Authenticity.
So, yeah.
Building authentic,
Right.
genuine relationships goes like that is, and I think that's another thing another reason why I think like the barbershop space appealed to me, because I feel like the barbershop is like a community space. Like this is a space where people, it is intended for people to connect and build relationships.
Right.
And I think that maybe more so now than ever, I think that people can sniff out bullshit. Like people can sniff out
I agree.
inauthenticity.
Mm-hmm.
And on our side as a business, like it just makes the workspace a better place to be and spend time whenever you're hanging out with people you like, and you're attracting the people that you like to hang out with, and you get to know them and you learn about their families, and what they're up to and what they're doing. Like it goes back to like Fort Worth feeling like this little small town.
Yeah.
And I think that if as a actual big city, we can still lean into like those things that just make us feel familiar, knowing people's names, knowing what they're doing and what they're up to. And if nothing else, making an effort to lean into relationships.
Effort is the key.
Yeah, in the right direction. We were watching that movie last night, and he's like, "Oh, Christmas Vacation," and
Why
she
it was
goes,
on last
Why
it was on last night, I don't know.
The mom, he puts all the Christmas lights up and they don't work. And the mom goes, he worked really hard at it. And the dad goes, so do washing machines. So it's like effort, but you got to have the motivation behind it or whatever.
Well, empathy. And I'm huge on empathy.
Yeah.
But especially now with COVID and everything, it's like you just got to, like, I'm the same. How do you feel? What would you want? And,
Put yourself in
going
their
back to what you're
shoes,
saying about like this guy sitting in the chair getting his hair cut and, enjoying himself. It's like, this was all a plan. Like it was all like that chair is there because I put it there.
Yeah.
Like there's all of these different things. Even like, and I know you had a question about like his music and stuff at the barbershop.
I want to talk
like
about that.
we hand selected every song that's at our Heim barbecue restaurants.
Yeah.
And like that's on purpose because
Very
it all goes back to the
intentional.
atmosphere. So
we went in the other day during a meeting, and Luke Bryan, and nothing against Luke Bryan. If you've
Sponsor us.
watched the podcast, we've already kind of. Luke Bryan is never coming on this podcast, but whatever. Some song was playing, and we're sitting in the meeting with managers, and I'm just like, my just boiling up, like, but it's being intentional about that, and
it's design.
And so what I wanted to bring up was Jonathan has 20 something podcasts, right? Or I'm sorry, a playlist on Spotify for the Fort Worth Barbershop. And I think I follow most of them, listen to them. So you're obviously very intentional about the music you want, kind of setting that environment. How does that play a role in those spaces that you're creating?
I'm glad you asked. I'm glad when anybody asks me about my playlist, because I spend so much time on it.
You can tell you're passionate about it.
I think that I want to be a DJ, but I'm also I don't want the
hey, there's still time.
I don't want the anxiety of like trying to make people dance. But
it seems like a tough job.
Just like my music, like my music selections, please. Man, number one, I love walking into a space and hearing music that, number one, I enjoy, but like feeling like a sense of discovery around music and feeling like the space, it's a part of design. Like it's a part of what that holistic experience is. And like I'm very, very adamant about making sure that people come into the show, they're gonna hear what I consider to be great music, right?
Yeah.
And taking the time to hand select. And I mean it ends up taking a lot of time. I'm working on volume 24 right now.
Yeah. Awesome.
But
Love it.
I want to create an environment where people say, man, I found new music, or I heard new music, or I like the way that I felt because of the sound of the space. You know, it just matters to me. And I can't stand when I go into a place and like there's just no intentionality around what's playing. And I'm like, this can change the way I feel when I walk out with this burger or looking at this furniture or whatever. Like it makes a difference. And that's the thing, going back to like being inspired. Like I feel like when I travel and I go to places and I walk into spaces that I feel particularly inspired by, or I feel like they're doing something really well, I'm like, a lot of times it's because of what I'm hearing or what I'm smelling. Like I think like I'm obsessed with like sensory design. I just think it's so powerful.
Yeah.
It has the opportunity to really, I think, make or break, but especially make an experience, like just heighten an experience and heighten everything. Because I think that another thing is like, I feel like sensory design, like when you're pouring into the way things, I mean, you guys definitely point to the way things smell.
Yeah.
Can't get away from it.
It's important,
But like pouring into pouring, energy and effort into like what people are hearing. I think that as a consumer, it tells me that, oh, they care about this detail. It kind of, I think, plants the seed, like they care about the details. And then I think that also creates space for, room for error, right? They are putting effort into all of these things.
Right.
They care about how I'm perceiving this.
Yeah.
And I just think it's
Which means
important.
we care about you.
We care about you.
Yeah.
We're happy you're here because we did all of these things to make sure you're comfortable.
It's on purpose, baby.
It's
like
true.
everything's on purpose.
It is.
Everything's on purpose.
Like Walt Disney or something. Like everything is on purpose.
And it's not everybody that walks into your space is gonna care or notice.
Yeah.
But even if you don't, you do.
Yeah. I agree. Totally.
I've had a couple misses with, maybe a little vulgar language on a song and somebody's like, what is it? But that's one of the coolest compliments is when people are like, I really like this music or something. To that point, and I didn't look this up, so excuse me, but one of my favorite books, It's Not About the Coffee by Howard Behar, who was the chief marketing officer for Starbucks for a long time. And then Howard Schultz, the CEO, Onward. In one of those books, one of them talks about the same thing with the music, but something that always impacted me. And, for our business, it's the same. He was Schultz, I think, was so adamant about not doing the breakfast menu. Everybody at Starbucks is like, we're losing millions of dollars. Like McDonald's, all these places are doing breakfast. We got to do this. His whole point against it was the aroma of the coffee, like how impactful that is. And if you walk into a Starbucks or you walk into any good coffee shop, I would prefer you did that. But, you walk in a good coffee shop, it's like, what? Oh, yeah, I got a vote go.
Speaking of.
Shout out.
Yeah, shout out. If you want to sponsor. No, but, it's like when you walk in, you're like, boom, hit with that coffee smell. And I know you're a coffee lover, but like people like us, you like salivate. You're like the same, hopefully with our restaurants, it either smells like barbecue or it smells clean. That's cool. But I think too, it was so interesting of him fighting this thing of like, that we have to do that because the point was the breakfast sandwich or something, it smelled like, eggs. It smelled like bacon or whatever. And so then if you go in, you'll see they have these specially designed ovens that they ended up going with where it cuts down on that. So it still doesn't, pick that up.
Matters.
But it's super, it's something you may not even think of. But you walk into a Starbucks and it smells like McDonald's, or like a fryer, you're it's a whole different kind of subconscious thing.
invisible design.
That a customer's seeing. So that's huge.
Let's ask about the show.
Yeah, one thing before we get to that, I wanted to, because it's just on my mind, but and I wanted your input, because we want to get on everything you're doing, but the barbershop, especially historically, is really big in the Black community.
Mm-hmm.
How much of, and I guess you can maybe speak to that, but it, for white guys like me, go get a haircut and that's it, but really that's been a place of community and everything for a long time. How much was that kind of thought of when you wanted to open your place?
So one of the aspects of that I really wanted to make sure that we were able to communicate through the space we were creating is that sense of community, sense of the people that I'm sharing this space with is not just the other guy, but we're having a shared experience. And I think that particularly in the Black barbershop, that's something that has been true for years and years, maybe more so than in a predominantly Caucasian barbershop. I don't know.
Yeah.
But, for me, what was so important with the barbershop is that how do we converge the experiences of the things that I think make barbershops great, right? So if it's like that sense of community in a predominantly Black barbershop, like how do we introduce that sense to Joe Blow white guy who's never been in that, and like have you create this one space where we're all able to experience that. And like that was one of the things that was really important to me. Also, is just like I don't want to create. I feel like barbershops historically have been particularly ethnically monolithic. It's like, hey, Black barbershop, white barbershop, maybe even more so in the South. You see a lot more crossover on the East Coast and West Coast, and
I've always found that weird churches are like that too. Not to interrupt, but it's like it's weird.
But I think it's important for me. It was important to design a space that didn't tell anybody that this is not for you, right? So even just like, obviously with hair is different, right? And so for me, I'm like, I'm not gonna go out and bring in a barber or a stylist that doesn't know how to cut Black hair or doesn't know how to cut white hair, or it's not like, because to me, like, again, going back to empathy, because I've walked into a space before and they're like, oh, I don't know how
what do we do here?
Must have made you feel really good.
And so I'm like, nobody should have that experience. If you're gonna hang up a shingle and say you're a barber, like that's And again, that's my version of what I think a barbershop should be, right? Or what I think a barbershop not should be, but what a barbershop can be, right? And I think that in Fort Worth, we need that, that's the world. Because I think that what it does is it by doing that, it creates opportunities for people to connect with, share space with people that otherwise, maybe in the other parts of their life, they're not crossing paths. Right?
Absolutely.
That's huge.
And I think that the barbershop can be a place where cultures are colliding. People are coming from different walks of life, ethnically, socioeconomically. I want to create this space that is for people. Like it's for people. And even like one of the things that I've been when we redid our website just recently, I was looking at the language on my website, and it was very, very male centric. And it's like, for like there's a couple of instances like we're gentlemen, and 95% of our customer base is guys. But like we also have women that come into the barbershop to get their hair cut. And I'm like, why are we speaking just to like we're being exclusionary of a portion of our customer base. Let's speak to them, And so I feel like I want to be consistently learning, trying to create an even more inclusive space and push a barbershop to what it can be in terms of like who we can invite, who we can honor, and who we can give a great service to.
Yeah. Oh,
Man,
good to know.
I love it. I think
I need a haircut.
something we talk about that I'm sure I stole from somebody, but we're not in the barbecue business. We're in the people business.
Hell yeah.
And it's the same thing with you.
Yeah.
My favorite, by the way, one of my all-time favorite movie scenes is Coming to America.
Yeah.
Barbershop scene. It's like,
That's a great movie.
Whenever he just clips that,
You're good.
and then later when they leave and he goes, "Who's going to pick up all these flowers?" Like, oh man,
Good movie.
I think that's probably the greatest barbershop scene in a movie. That Eddie Murphy and
Arsenio
Eddie
Hall.
Murphy and Eddie Murphy
Yeah.
and
Yes.
Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall and
Arsenio Hall. Yeah.
It's good.
Oh my god, yeah. Sorry, and that's during COVID. That's been on every day, so I've watched it 100 times.
That's
lately,
one of those
but
movies. Like if it's on, like I'll just
You
I
gotta
don't
watch
care
it.
where it's
Yeah.
at. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch
There's
this.
so many good things.
Fun fact. I remember like in 2009, 2010, Lisa McDowell from Coming to America, she followed me on Twitter.
Nice.
What?
Yeah.
Dang.
Awesome.
Frame it.
Yeah, we
He's got his own money. And when I say he's got his own money, I mean he has his own money.
All right.
oh my
We need to
God.
watch it again.
Yeah, we should do a movie review of that. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't want to talk about the barbershop all day because that's one facet of your
Go to
crazy
Fort Worth
busy
Barbershop.
life. Yeah, Fort Worth Barbershop.
FortWorthBarbershop.com. Book an appointment.
There you go.
Instagram, everything, right? Fort Worth Barbershop.
Absolutely.
But two, one of the biggest things you got going on now is you are the future star host of Self-Employed on the Magnolia Network. What is that?
How did that happen?
Yeah.
What is it? How does it happen? I don't know.
Did they
guys.
reach out to you?
I'll tell you the story. So
Yeah, I want to know.
let me start by saying never did I wake up and decide, you know what I want to do? I want to be on TV.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
But like I'm gonna tell you, like it happened so incredibly organically.
Yeah.
Which I'm really grateful for. And so basically, like a year ago, my friend Red Sanders, Red Productions,
Yeah.
Mhm.
reached out to me, and Red was like, "Hey guys, or that's how Redhead sounds." He said, "Hey, John, what are you doing? Hey, okay, listen, I just met with the folks at Magnolia
Mhm.
down in Waco. And I don't know if you heard this or not, but they're launching their own TV network."
Yeah.
I was like,
Genius, by the
I
way.
was like, I didn't know that, but cool, all right. Which I mean, I'm familiar with Chip and Joanna
Yeah, of
and
course.
Fixer Upper and
Mhm.
what they've built, which is
Crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's crazy.
They have a compound. Yeah. I mean,
That's
it's-
awesome.
I mean, they've
Yeah.
it's incredible. But he's like, we kind of like sitting down with them and just kind of like throwing around ideas for possibly producing a TV show for this new network.
Mhm.
And so I was like, cool. And he was like, well, we mentioned you to them and we showed them the video that I had done. So Visit Fort Worth did this, the Fort Worth Stories.
Yeah.
And they profiled the barbershop and myself, and it was called The Entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So Warren Cook, Make Something Beautiful.
Mhm.
They produced that spot.
Mhm.
Red and his crew showed that to the Magnolia people, and they were like, "Okay, cool. Like,
Yeah.
we did something around this idea. This guy who owns this barbershop down in Fort Worth." And I think Red had to spend a considerable amount of time explaining to them that I was not a barber,
Right.
but on the barbershop. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
they
yeah.
probably had to repeat that to them several times. And so over the last year,
Mhm.
the idea of kind of like what the show was going to be has iterated and
Yeah.
evolved into this idea that I talk with entrepreneurs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I told them, like, this is what I just enjoy doing, talking
Right.
to entrepreneurs about
That's awesome.
entrepreneur stuff, the ups, the downs, the successes, the failures,
Mhm.
the dreams,
Mhm.
where they came from, how they started and stuff. And so, having, gone back and forth with the network people and them kind of coming up with they're, establishing this network and trying to figure out, what, what they want to put on TV.
Yeah.
And I'm still like, I don't know how all the TV stuff works, but but I told them, I'm like, look, if I can be an authentic version of who I am, I'm not an actor. Like, I'm not gonna I don't want to be put in weird scenarios where I'm pretending, but like, if I can just like travel around and like talk to entrepreneurs about entrepreneurship, and what they're doing, in their communities, and the products that they're making, but even beyond like the thing that they're doing, like who are these people? Where do these dreams come from? What are they inspired by? What are they motivated by? And so I just get to like just talk to people and like learn about them.
Yeah.
And hopefully, tell people a little bit about my city and what's special about this town, and do that with a camera crew in front. And so
It's totally natural.
it's
At least it's what you like to do, honestly.
Yeah.
I enjoy it. I've been enjoying it. And it's obviously new, and it's just a new adventure.
Yeah.
It feels different than running a business or entrepreneurship. But I told them, like, look, if I can just be, I don't have anything to bring except for being myself. So if I can do that,
That's what they want.
cool, let's do it.
Give them what they want.
You guys have done TV.
Yeah, it is weird,
How
but
do you like it?
I don't mind it that much. I mean, the first time was like, ugh. I think we did Food Paradise or something, and that was
you don't
not.
have to say what it is.
No. It was just like I like when I'm being interviewed and I can talk to someone. In Food Paradise, there wasn't that, so it was a little bit like.
I love.
I don't know. Am I going to get in trouble, Paul? No.
Whatever.
Okay.
They've already put us on twice, so the Man Fire Food with their friend
was
Roger
awesome.
Mooking. He's awesome, and it's to me that's what I love about this, and I'm hoping we can keep doing this. But it was just like friends talking, like literally like with us, and it was cool. But yeah, we've done some shows where like literally I was like, I'm not going to say that, and I'm already not the most personable person in the world, but
you're a nice man.
yeah, thank you. But you're biased.
You're a very nice man.
Shooting yourself down all the time.
But they're like, here's the food or whatever, and they're like, put it in your mouth or whatever, like some kind of like corny, like, it's whatever, some catchy thing. And I'm just like, this is so stupid.
You're like, I would never actually do this.
Yeah,
It was,
but you have
I'm going
to
to take
be-
this
you have
out
to-
for a smoke break, is what it was.
And I was like, I'm not going to say that. And then after like 10 minutes, they're like, whatever. Okay. But anyway,
I thought about you guys. I just finished the Chef's Table Barbecue.
Oh,
yeah.
Number one, like they shoot. It's so beautiful the way they shoot.
Incredible.
The
Yeah.
Great
stories
series.
that they picked were incredible.
Yeah.
And like you just feel. Have y'all met Tootsie?
Yeah,
Yes.
oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And Rodney Scott from
Really?
North Carolina, right?
South Carolina.
South Carolina. Yeah, outside of
Charleston.
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 Yeah.
Right, yeah.
No, I think that just those stories are just so
Yeah.
beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And the food shots are incredible. But yeah, like it's more than just the thing. It's like, who are the people and what have they created
Yeah.
Yeah.
in their communities? And
That's what makes it work.
And we loved, and I still watch, and I've read everything he ever wrote, but Anthony Bourdain, it's like such a sad story, but I think Chef's Table, in my opinion, is kind of like that. But like with you, and why I know you're going to be successful at this is he's just real, he's just coming into it. And it's like, and two is like, there's episodes and times where he's like, this sucks and this is stupid. But it's people relate to that. You're experiencing what he's experiencing either way. And I think that's the same thing with the show, and why I'm really excited about it, because telling the entrepreneur story, self-employed is a great title, by the way, great name, but going like, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, and getting into that where people have failed, or people have tell me about the hard part that led you to this. I mean, people love that stuff, and they like seeing, just like with Tootsie's story or Rodney. I mean, it's place burnt to the ground. It's like it's awesome. So yeah.
I think that people respond to people just want authenticity. People want to feel like they're not being sold to all the time. People want to feel like they're just getting to know real people and real stories. I mean, and again, like that's what I respond to. That's what I want to. Like, that's what I want to.
I've got to say though that we've shared the articles and stuff about you being on the show and getting the show and everything, and Fort Worth is so proud. Like I'm all like,
dude, I'm proud, man. I'm happy for you.
It's so cool, but I've heard nothing but excitement and like people just pumped about it. So congrats. I mean, I know it's just, I'm sure you're just like, what is going on? But
I'll tell you what, like I think there's something about this all happening in the middle of this pandemic. Because like I don't really go to too many places right now. So the feedback that we've gotten is just things that like I've seen on social media and stuff, but people have been so supportive. And again, it goes back to, I think, just the DNA and the nature of this city, and at least the way that I've experienced it. People want something to pull for, and I think that if you give them yourself and an authentic, genuine version of yourself, I think that people want to pull for you. And I feel like that's kind of who we are as a city, and so I'm very proud to be representing Fort Worth in a way, and telling people a little bit about who we are as a city. And
so cool.
I'm very bullish. I'm very optimistic about just kind of where we're going. As a city.
I think so too.
We're gonna make it, guys. We're gonna do it.
Well, too, now it's and to me with restaurants especially, I hate developers. I can say that, I guess. It's, what do I care? But, it's always like, even certain places here, it's like, oh, well, we need to put this in because this is Dallas or whatever. And there's not there's rarely an approach to reach out to somebody like us who like has an idea or something, or not us right now, because, but now you're seeing where the bar maybe is a little bit lower. Maybe it's just, people are willing to work more, but places are able to open. And like Four Sisters, one of our favorite restaurants, like I think of Tiny's, is that how you say Sarah?
Tiny's.
Sarah Castillo's place. I mean, it's, you have now where you're seeing those things, and that's like stuff that we never would have seen 10 years ago, because they're like, oh, we got to put in another Mi Casino, or, nothing against Mi Casino, whatever, if they want to sponsor. But that's awesome, man. I'm really excited. I think one thing I did want to bring up I think probably maybe collectively, but I know our second favorite place on earth is Maui. And I know we both have, because we didn't have a honeymoon, right? Like her grandfather gave us $500, so we like went and stayed next to the Alamo, and it, I was 22, just turned 22, and so it was fun, whatever. But we got to go to, I guess we've been a couple times now. I know you and your wife have too. What are the Maui travel recs? Why should
Don't
people
get
do
sad.
it? Yeah, I know. Because I want to go tomorrow. If you're down,
let's go.
Yeah.
Couple things. So we first went for a honeymoon.
Awesome.
And I remember thinking like, okay, we'll go to Hawaii. We'll go to Maui. It seems cliche, but let's go. We went.
Yeah.
And I remember getting there, and after being there thinking, this is paradise. Like, this is different.
Yeah.
This is different.
Yeah.
Maui, like,
we don't.
I know we're gonna get all sad. Yeah.
So we travel a little bit, and we're not like big spenders, but we splurge on the fruits of our labor.
You have to.
We're actually going to the island of Maui.
Yeah.
There's just nothing like it.
Yeah.
So, did y'all go to Merriman's?
Yes.
Oh yeah. The Mai Tai, best Mai Tai
So I
in
tell
the
people,
world.
like, Mama's Fish House, good. Go there, check it out.
Yeah.
Great. Don't not go there.
Right.
But Merriman, like the suns, I don't know what is happening in that little corner, but the way that the sun sets.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Outside of the windows of Merriman's is incredible. There's I forgot the name of it, but I found there was like this food truck in Kihei that had like coconut shrimp, very similar to cocoa shrimp.
Right.
Yeah.
And
which is awesome.
That was incredible. Kihei Cafe.
Yeah.
Had one of the best espressos I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
Kihei
yeah.
Cafe. But it's like I think I want to retire and like
Yeah.
I want to retire
Dude.
there.
I'm in.
Like
We're
like,
gonna do that. So
like maybe
Yeah.
maybe on the ocean, maybe up country. I don't
Yeah.
know. But like there's something very peaceful
Yeah.
about that place. And it's incredible.
It
is.
It's
it
incredible.
makes you just kind of like all of your worries are not worries.
Every time I have friends like that are going there for the first time, I'm like, listen,
Mhm.
I need you to understand. You're going to fall in love
Yeah.
with
Right.
this place, and
Yeah.
you're immediately going to be planning your next trip.
Yeah,
Right,
you
yeah.
don't want to leave. You're
Yeah.
gonna cry when you leave. I think
Yeah.
one time
You're
we were
gonna spend
actually
too much money.
we were on the pool at Joe T's, and I think like you and Catherine were there, and you were like, "Oh, we're leaving in like 2 days or something." And this was like years ago, and I remember you like saying that, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah.
Like, and you were like, "You don't even know."
Yeah.
I was just like, "We gotta go."
Oh my
Oh,
goodness!
man.
Every time I'm there, like I see like celebrities or like people that you know to be extremely wealthy. I'm
Mhm.
like,
Yeah,
I understand why you're here. I wish I
Yeah.
could come here as often as you seem to be here.
Yeah, yeah.
right. It is
But it's
life-changing.
Like, it is a place to be.
Yeah, Zuckerberg is freaking buying all of it, so whatever. But yeah, Maui, we went and the food awesome. Like what I love. So Merriman's is in Kapalua, which is like on the
Mhm.
west side of the island. Kapalua is a famous golf course that's awesome that I got to play. But I think probably maybe one of our favorite things there is Prison Street Pizza, which is just like a New
It's like
Jersey style
as big as this room.
Where's
pizza.
it at?
It's in
Lahaina.
Lahaina.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's a shack really, like the size of this room, and they just like do pizza by the slice, and they sell
Canned
it to
beer.
surfers, and you're just in there like hanging out, and it's just like, the thing for me with Hawaii, growing up here, not really traveling. I have traveled some, I guess, but being there and then like being on the ocean and feeling like I'm at the end of the world. You know what I mean? Like it was a very, visceral experience of like, this is crazy. And maybe it's the time that it takes to get there or whatever, but the whole thing, you're like, I'm experiencing something that, is so unique or whatever. And it's really awesome. And so I want to open a barbecue place there that's open 1 day a week and for like 2 hours and just enough to kind of get by, right? Type of thing. But
Well, I'm gonna need a job whenever I
okay,
move there.
done. You're
also,
hired.
so,
You're hired.
can
He's
I-
hired. So we already got our GM.
Yeah,
So we're good.
perfect.
So let's go. Yeah, it's awesome.
1 day a
Hope we
week. You
can go
say?
soon.
1 day a week?
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean, I don't want to
okay.
do too much
Is
work.
that
you
too
know what I
much?
mean?
I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, I'll make it work.
Okay.
I'll make it work. I'll make it work. I'll make it
Just
work.
a couple hours.
Do a little surfing. I mean, it was
Then like the flights are a business expense,
Yeah,
if we have to
yeah,
come
yeah.
back or whatever, you
Yeah, it
know.
makes sense. It's
Come back.
Yeah.
We've thought about this a lot.
yeah. I know Jonathan will relate.
Mhm.
My wife, she always mentions doing a snow cone.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Shave ice, right? Yeah.
So good.
God,
Well,
it's
now
so
I'm
much fun.
sad.
Oh, whatever. Yeah, we went to Kauai last year
Yeah.
or this year.
But it kind of made me like it
year.
was gorgeous there, but it kind of just made me miss Maui. Like I was like, man, I kind of miss like because we have a routine when we go to Maui.
Yeah.
You
Right.
do your things and obviously introduce new things. But I was like, Kauai is cool, but Maui is just
See, that's my
Yeah.
problem because like people have told me about other islands and other
Mhm.
places you
Yeah.
should go, but I'm like, I don't want to mess this up.
I know.
Yo.
Unless you have like a solid month or something where you can like hop.
Island hop.
Yeah, which is like goals in itself, obviously. But
I'm in.
yeah, one day.
Yeah, so we normally do a power rank, and we're running short on time, I think. But power rank, and we'll do like different stuff. Great with Grady, it was Chick-fil-A sauces. I was trying to think of something. What do I know Jonathan would probably have a passionate opinion about?
Okay.
So I don't know if you're ready for this. I
Let's
know you're a basketball fan.
I am.
You're specifically a Michael Jordan fan, right? Michael,
I love Jordan.
not just basketball, but entrepreneurship. Everything.
Also, the newest owner of a NASCAR team.
I
yeah,
saw that.
Fun fact.
just announced yesterday,
A lot of
right?
people don't know this about me.
What?
I used to I used to work for NASCAR.
You
Really?
did?
So when I lived in Atlanta,
Yeah.
I didn't work for NASCAR. I worked for
Right.
Turner Sports.
Okay. Yeah.
And Turner Sports. So I was I don't even know what they call the job. But basically I checked audio on
Okay.
Track Pass,
Oh.
which is where you can hear the
crews or
you
whatever.
can hear the crews like talking
Awesome.
to each
That's
other. And so my job, I would go in on race days and I would basically just listen to I would rotate through, listen to the drivers communicating. And if there was ever any audio issues, I would tell the producer person the audio issues.
Yeah.
And then they would fix it. So that was my stint of,
Wow.
I did that for like a year and a half or
Nice.
so when I was in Atlanta. But that's my NASCAR connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
We're-
like, basically, you're Michael Jordan's best friend then.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. I think
Now
that's
that
how
he
that
owns
works.
NASCAR.
Yeah, we're not. I've never got into NASCAR. I did go, and this was another foundational moment in my life. We went to my friend Texas Motor Speedway race, and his dad was the CPA for a guy that owns a bunch of RV dealerships here, or whatever. So this is a stupid story. I don't know why I'm telling it, but they had a bunch of RVs, right?
Yeah.
And so we're hanging out, and then this was like when it opened. So leaving, it's 2 lanes, out of there. This was when I was 13 or whatever, 12, and so it was a gridlock traffic jam. And so we're just staying in the RVs overnight. We're going to leave the next morning after the race. So these gentlemen across the road, gridlock traffic on the way out, do a giant sign, show your boobs for beer.
How old were you?
13. Just
Gosh.
sweet spot.
For context,
yeah,
that
yeah.
is.
They were,
Perfect timing.
I was in the perfect demographic for their shenanigans.
Don't listen, Robin.
She probably knows.
Your
I've
mother.
done worse. But yeah, then and we just sat there, and then the young ladies would, do what they do. And then these guys would just run beer out to them. And it was like, so that's my NASCAR story. I couldn't tell you anything about the race.
That's
but
your connection to
You
NASCAR.
told us a lot about the NASCAR culture
Yeah,
there.
who won that race?
No clue. No clue. I couldn't even tell you anything, but great moment in my life. But yeah, we, so anyway, power rank. So what I wanted to discuss, which I know this is maybe our most controversial stance, which we've already gone through Luke Bryan, he's probably got his lawyers on the phone. They call it the GOAT, greatest of all time.
Yeah.
MJ, LeBron, Kobe. I feel like I know your answer, but this is always a heated debate. Who do you got?
Am I going up or down? Top to bottom? Or
Let's do lowest to. You don't have to do 5 or whatever, but maybe
I'm gonna go
lowest to highest.
those
yeah.
3? Okay. You say
Or anyone else. I mean,
all right. So
you want to throw Larry Bird in there? I'm just kidding.
I'm gonna say Jordan,
Yeah.
number 1, GOATiest GOAT of all time.
Yeah.
What Michael Jordan has done supersedes basketball
Yeah.
and even supersedes sports. His name is literally synonymous with greatness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking about it. Michael Jordan, he came into the league basically like the year I was born, and so growing up watching him perform, like I'm so glad that I got to live through that era,
Right.
so that I have context for the next 2, which
Yeah.
which I think I'm gonna go Kobe 2,
Wow.
LeBron 3.
Wow.
And that's not taking anything
Right,
away
right.
from
LeBron.
from Bron, but
Yeah.
Kobe's, and I always thought that Kobe seemed like a jerk.
Yeah.
And like Kobe probably wasn't the best friend, I imagine.
Yeah.
But in terms of the pursuit of greatness,
Yeah.
the way he worked was so inspiring. And I think that, since him passing in January, which is, it's crazy to think that's how we started our year.
Right.
Yeah.
Hearing
Crazy.
some of the stories of teammates and competitors
Mhm.
just talk about his drive and
Yeah.
the extent that he would go beyond anyone else to get better.
And get everyone else to be better.
And make other people better.
Yeah.
To me, that was like that. Like you can apply, it goes beyond sport. Like you can apply that Mamba mentality.
Yeah.
That GOAT mentality. You can apply that to anything.
Yeah,
And I think that we are better for it. Like I feel like Kobe's life was just not in vain. Like he put something in people's hearts that I think has made people better versions of anything that they do, right?
Yeah.
And then LeBron, which athlete-wise, like he's literally like if you were creating a player, like that's what you create on like the what do they call it? Like the
2K or whatever video game. Yeah.
He's what you create.
Yeah.
And what I love, and again beyond like sport, man, I'm so like LeBron and I are like the same age. Like we're like a couple months apart. And so I've been, watching him since we were both in high school.
Yeah.
And he has been so inspiring as a philanthropist.
Right. Yeah.
As a father, as a husband. Like he's been like spotless for like 20 years
Can you imagine too the microscope he's been under?
Since he was a kid.
Yeah.
And that to me is really inspiring. Watching the way he moves, watching the way he's built business off the court with guys that he grew up with. Incredibly inspired. All three of those guys have inspired me incredibly. But I think that when you look at, if you want to talk about GOAT, Jordan set the bar for everybody else.
Yeah.
He's an alien. I mean, he's a completely different type of person than anything. And then put all that aside, then obviously having the athletic skills and all that stuff. But yeah, it's
but golf and baseball too, right? I mean, like he's
like, I'm gonna go play baseball.
Yeah.
Like
baseball.
what? And he was, and there are scouts and stuff that say like if he had probably kept with it, he could have gone to the majors. He couldn't hit a curveball, but he was working on it. And
I know he was a hard ass, but like his team, like how he got his team going to be even better.
Y'all watch Last Dance?
Yes. Like I was like,
Incredible.
Damn, that's really inspiring. We've used a lot of sports in our talks with like a leadership team and stuff, and like being a team, and we bring him up about just like motivating and stuff. I mean, some people would say it was harsh in some ways,
but show me somebody who's not.
But he also cared. Like you can tell that it was all from a place of caring. So
I think like watching like when he like broke down on The Last Dance, and he was talking about like if what was he saying? He's like if you're not built for this, like you gotta go. Like
See ya.
And he's so emotional about it. You're like he cares in a different way.
Yeah.
Not everybody needs to care about anything that much to just survive as a human being.
Right.
But it's an alien, like it's different. It's different. And I think I think that it also represents some level of sacrifice probably in other parts of your life where but I'm very thankful that, beyond sport, that we have those figures for what they represent and how we can take what they've imparted into culture and use those things to like influence the way we make Bernies.
I know. It's so true. So true.
I watched that Last Dance and we took a personality test. We're doing this new thing for the company. It's like a personality survey and all this stuff. And I have no emotions. It's like, and she like gives me a hard time. But when we got our test back, you go, well, at least you know now, which I was like, that's funny. But there's a, if you want to call it the Michael Jordan trait or whatever, that's autonomy, leadership. The higher that is, the better somebody for an entrepreneur. I'm sure yours is super high. The more, you're going to be that leader kind of thing. And like with him and Kobe both had that, where they're like, we're going to win. I don't care if we're playing like tic-tac-toe or whatever, like it's some kind of like hopscotch, I'm going to win and I'm going to beat you and I'm going to beat your ass too. I'm not going to like just, I'm going to go. I remember there was a story after Kobe died where he has his own shoes, Kobe's, and the team was wearing them or whatever, and they lost and they played so bad. He took everyone's shoes. He literally goes, "You guys are not good enough to wear my shoes," and he took all their shoes and like threw them in the trash. But that is a different mindset. Someone who's motivated, and like you said, it's. I think it can be a negative. It's maybe you're not the best dad or the best husband or whatever. But I think that when you see that level of greatness, and it is a huge deal in sports, is what we relate it most to, but you're just like, I am not going to lose. And that's the same thing, relating it to what we do. We may have to shut down a business. A restaurant closes or whatever. It's not going to be from lack of trying. It's not going to be from, that and putting that hard work in. And, I thought you were going to go LeBron too. I agree with you, wholeheartedly, but yeah. Crazy. So anything to add?
I think that's it, man.
Well, we should do the restaurant spotlight. We always do that.
Restaurants. Wait, what's your favorite restaurant? You don't have to say Heim. In Fort Worth.
Merriman's in Maui.
Yeah. Okay.
We need to put the Mai Tai on the menu with the Lily Koi foam. Look it up on their Instagram. So good. Yeah.
So good.
I love a Mai Tai.
I need one right now.
I like a Mai Tai. Did you guys ever do the Mai Tai inside of a pineapple?
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
It's $12 extra, but
when in Rome. Yeah.
when in Rome, when in Hawaii.
Yeah.
I'm gonna not do that.
No, it's so grammable.
I know. I've never eaten so much fruit in my life. You go to Hawaii and you're just like,
it's like literally the best thing ever.
Yeah.
It's sweeter there too.
It is. The pineapple. Oh.
Miso Fat sushi place is great there.
Yeah, you have to go there next time if you haven't been.
I've not been there. I've not been there. I don't think.
It's BYOB and there's a liquor store right next door, so you can like stay there all night if you want and continually just eat sushi and
They
drink.
have liquor in the grocery stores too.
Yes,
Yeah, it's
which
awesome.
is the best
I know.
thing. I know.
Whatever, Texas. One of our many rules that needs to be changed. But
If you guys want to do this on location,
yeah,
then just
I
let,
love it. Yeah,
let me know.
maybe we
will.
could get us Go Hawaii to sponsor us or something like that. That'd be awesome. Yeah. So, do you have a favorite restaurant? I mean, I know we're friends with a million people, but in town,
That could have been the ranked.
Power Rank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know you guys have the connection, but Joe T's is always, it's just such a fallback.
Yeah.
And I love it because there's a connected experience with every time we go, whether it be, with family or friends, being by the pool with my, like, it's just, you feel transported into another place, and it just feels like it feels like Fort Worth in a lot of ways.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And everybody
It's
go there.
going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Love
see, I bet you see so many people when you go because
Oh,
we
yeah.
do, and I'm like, dang, this is so cool though, the experience. And
Yeah, and I wasn't prepared for this, but I'm ready to fight for Joe T's, to be honest, because people talk shit about the food or this or that, and you're like,
I hate when people do that because number one, those refried beans.
yeah,
I mean, I don't know what
a heavy amount of lard. I can tell you.
And you know what I love even more than Joe T's?
Yeah.
Joe T's the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leftovers, sure. I'm with you.
with some eggs in the morning.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, we I guess, I don't know, I'm sure we could say, but we worked there for a while, and then I grew up eating there my entire life. Right. We had our rehearsal dinner. Was that there? Or some kind of thing was there that we did. But anyway, it's awesome. I love it. And two, we want to have Joe on. We talked to him.
Yeah, we did.
He's like, what is a podcast? And we're like, don't worry about it. Just, come in. But, working there and then everything, it's like that place opened in 1935, and thinking about, even with you and everything, like a Mexican-American person opening business, and they open as a barbecue place, Joe's Barbecue. The original pit is in the front of the building that you can check out still. you have to ask them. I guess you can't just walk back there, but thinking about what they went through 1935 to open, to do all that. And then they live there. And then as it expanded, now they own like a city block. And they're doing fine. We were there Saturday and there's a million people there. It was,
I think that, for me, Joe T's, one, the experience, but then two, like, it's like this, as a small business in Fort Worth, Texas, it is it's so like aspirational in terms of how something can become an iconic place over decades and decades. And, there was a period of time where when I first opened up the barbershop, I was like, all right, I'm going to open up this barbershop and then I'm going to open up another one and another one and another one. And I want to have barbershops before. Yeah. And then I was like, actually, I want to be more like Joe T.
Yeah.
Like this is where it's at.
Yeah.
I know that at one point they like had opened up another one, like in
the other one in Dallas.
Yeah. But
didn't work
there's
out.
something special about what they've done, what they've created here in Fort Worth, and it's definitely like, it runs like a freaking machine.
Yeah, it does.
Like it's just incredibly inspiring.
That's
I agree.
I mean, one of my biggest things is like efficiency now, and like how can we do what we do? We can be creative. We can add all this. That's not really our business. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, people come because they want barbecue. Now we're like the corn dog place, but it's like whatever.
The corn dog.
But you're talking about, they can see 1,200 people at one time, I think, and what it takes to serve it consistency. Everything. Everything that goes into it. I forgot what else I was going to say, but yeah, I mean,
I just love it because it's like, if there's an event in life, we're going to Joe T's, like whatever it is, decision making, cheersing. Like we bought our house, we went to Joe T's, and then like
it's a Fort Worth thing,
like it's just, if you got a friend in town, you're going to Joe T's. Yeah, it's like you got to try these margaritas. I love
taking somebody to Joe T's for the first time.
Yeah. Sit by the pool.
Just sit here. Get halfway through that drink and let me know how you're doing.
Maybe add a little water to that margarita if you need. No, the thing I was going to say, a concept I first heard by Danny Meyer, but shared ownership. And I know you have this too at the barbershop and you will with the hotel and stuff. But the most perfect example of it that we use a lot at the restaurant is people like my grandparents, that have been going to Joe T's. Well, so at one point when they expanded, you had to walk through the kitchen, literally, to get to the other seating.
I've heard about that.
Because they had the front room, and then and when we were waiters there, and I'm sure people still do it, they would just like walk through the kitchen with their friends and be like, this is where we used to go to the seats. And then literally, you'd see a group who maybe they brought in, 6 friends or some kind of thing. Like you're saying, you bring people in and they're going in the front room. Look at these photos. This is what it used to be in this. Can you, when you really break that down, someone that has no connection whatsoever to the business is telling their entire story, is going through this. This is so how connected I am to this. And you don't see that a lot. You know what I mean? That's a really hard thing to do, but to get people, no one's you're going to say, oh, Joe T's, and they're like, oh, I haven't heard of it or what. No, it's like barbecue or whatever. Like somebody's got an opinion. Yeah. It may be positive, it may be negative, but it's like their passion, it's when you get to that icon kind of thing.
Super cool.
And I'd love to do that with our places, eventually.
I think you guys are already doing that with your place. And I think that it's almost like everybody's got something to say.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the fact that, what you guys have created here in Fort Worth is something that, number one, I know people are very proud of. And people are, again, like people connect their own identities to like, all right, you going to Fort Worth, you gotta go to Heim. You gotta get the burnt in. Like it's your dream. You know what I mean? Like it's your dream, and people get to share a little piece of what that dream is.
Crazy.
It is. It's awesome. It's hard to explain it. It's like the best.
One day at a time. Jonathan, thank you, man, for coming on. Seriously,
it means
a lot. So you can follow Jonathan DFW for personal stuff, right? Twitter, Instagram, Fort Worth Barbershop, Hotel Dryce, DRYCE. Yeah.
It's an old dry ice warehouse.
I meant to ask you about that, but you know, whatever, my
That's
brain
awesome.
scrambled.
Blended.
Yeah,
together.
and that's going to be so awesome, man.
It is,
I can't wait. So shooting for 2021, right?
Yep.
Self-employed on Magnolia Network. Same thing, probably 2021, right?
Yeah.
But be on the lookout, updates,
So
everything.
Magnolia Network is going to take over what is now the DIY network. DIY network
didn't
is
know
going
that.
away.
Okay.
Got
And
it.
Yeah.
Magnolia Network is taking over that space. So whatever channel DIY is on for you will transform into
Awesome.
Magnolia Network.
They're
Dude.
geniuses, by the way. We talked to, there was a guy who his, a connection basically with a guy who works for them, who's one of Chip's friends. And we talked about having a food truck at Magnolia. And it got to the point where we were like, really like, this may happen. And then Chip, I guess, is really good friends with the barbecue place in Waco. And they were like, no. And so then they have a food truck there, but it was kind of cool. And if they looked up some of my Baylor tweets, they probably wouldn't be happy anyway. But that's awesome, man. We're really excited for you. For us, guys, Heim Time Podcast, please review, like.
Yeah.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Yeah, I'm terrible at this. We have a Patreon where we're doing kind of behind the scenes stuff, other videos. That's patreon.com, Heim Time Podcasts, Apple, iTunes, Spotify, whatever, YouTube. Again, we really can't thank Jonathan enough for coming on, and you know, just remember us in a few years. Yeah.
When we go to Hawaii,
We'll get the guest house. Yeah, you get the house in Maui, and then we'll be in the guest house. Yeah, and we don't need a ton of room.
as
Just
long
like
as there's pizza and Mai
a
Tais.
futon maybe, and we'll be there.
And work one day a week.
Yeah,
One day.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. Appreciate
Thank you guys.
it.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.
We